Before we begin the episode, I would like to thank our sponsor, Field Queens, an Irish-owned GAA and leisurewear brand created by two intercounty players, Una White and Orla Duff. The girls have put aside their intercounty rivalries to create Ireland's first ever GAA glove specifically designed and tailored fit to the female hand. Field Queens are empowering future generations and offer a 15% team discount on gloves and are proud to be stocked in 10 stores nationwide. Having only started this venture in 2021, they have steadily grown their product line to include their original Empower gloves, bobble hats, snoods and water bottles. They've also just announced their brand new blackout glove, which are now available to buy on their website fieldqueens.ie. You can find out more information on their social media at Field Queens, which will be linked in the description box below. Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 92, I'm joined to be joined by Armagh senior ladies footballer and 2020 All-Star Blaithin Mackin. On this episode we discuss her career, playing multiple positions, structured football, underrated skills and so much more. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with Blaithin, so I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi Blaithin, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
No bother, nice to be here.
Before we get into everything, would you mind giving a quick 30-second intro to listeners who might not know who you are?
Yeah, I'm Blaithin Mackin, current footballer for Armagh ladies, and Ciaran and Connaire is my club.
Very good. There's 4 years involved in intercounty setups. What's in the water down in your house?
Oh God, not the might be stronger than water. Yeah, the 4 of us at the minute, and then 2 older sisters as well. So
very good for you. Yeah, for you starting out, who were the big influences? Obviously, your older siblings, but who kind of put the ball in their hands? And obviously, were your parents heavily involved in sport?
Yeah, well, my dad this is where his home village, like, so his club has always been Ciaran and he's heavily involved in our club. He was the chairman for a few years and stuff. And mummy wouldn't have been involved as Gaelic as much in her youth, but she slowly got into it then once she started going out with daddy, I think. And she's always sort of been into sport as well and quite athletic and stuff like that. But yeah, so both of them sort of have been pushing us on in all sports. Like they would have pushed us on in soccer and Gaelic and everything, like, so it just happened to be that we all fell in love with Gaelic more so.
That's something I've noticed with yourself and Aimee. Your games are very, I can tell there's a bit of soccer influence there. How important is it to play multiple sports growing up and not specialise early from your perspective as a player?
I think it's the best thing for kids. Any parents or that I'm speaking to, I'm like, get them into everything. It's the best thing for them. You learn skills, and it's the same even with younger players that I notice that maybe play soccer or netball or stuff like that. There, any other sport really, you can sort of sense to just bring a different dimension then into the sport. So, like the netball players, they bring in the traits that they're learning netball into Gaelic, and it's the same with soccer players. Sometimes soccer players can bring a wee bit of skill or like flair into their Gaelic game, and you've seen it with men's players as well, like down through the years. So yeah, I would always definitely promote it and do it as long as you can. Like obviously there definitely comes a point where it's not sort of viable, just because once you get older, it's not possible to give 100% to everything, and that was the way it worked for us. But as long as you can, keep it up, because it all crosses over and it all helps out with the other sports.
Mm-hmm. What stood out for Gaelic football for you then? Why did you commit to Gaelic football?
I think it was sort of the club plays a big part in that. Like your club is your family, it's your village, it's all of that sort of thing. So you don't find that as much sort of in soccer, or well, I didn't find it as much in soccer, like anyways. But definitely, yeah, the club played a big role in that, and wanting you to be there. And I think it is sort of like it's the Irish sport, it's all that there. It was just always the love for it was more so there, and I can't really pinpoint exactly why, but I would say it's down to the community feel and the support you get from it. Like, in everything you do, I'm lucky enough that I've such a supportive club and a supportive county that no matter what trouble anybody's in, there's always somebody there for you. Like,
when I was doing a bit of research for the episode, I was interested to hear that your club, the ladies section, was only kind of set up when you were kind of coming through those underage ranks.
Yeah, no, definitely. So a wee bit maybe older than me, so probably more around Aimee's run, but yeah, but 2 years ahead of me. So we all just sort of played boys. And then it got to Aimee's age, there was a good few girls on that boys team. And obviously after under 12, you can't play under 14. So they decided, we have enough people here, we have enough girls, we can finally start a girls team sort of thing. So yeah, it was a wee bit later, but just down to the fact that we didn't have the numbers until the sort of age around Aimee's seemed to have loads of girls. So then they started it, and the manager, Peter Lynch, then he ended up taking it by an accident. He went down to the LGM to take the under 12 boys team. I remember him telling us, and it was him and Brendan McGuire, and the club were like, we're setting up a girls team this year and that's it. And somebody just turned around and goes, Peter, you managed girls when you were in America, didn't you? And he goes, yeah, I did. Right, you're the manager. And he didn't get what he intended for, but I think in the long run it worked out very well for Peter. He took us right up to senior then. From that under 12 team, he took us right up and got us into the senior championship and a couple of Ulsters and All Ireland finals along the way. Like, so he was probably glad he took it in the end.
It worked out well, because I saw it
Yeah.
there. It was something like 27 championship like titles since you started the ladies section. Like,
Yeah.
that is unheard of.
Yeah, no, like, and like, not all of them are obviously senior, definitely not in underage. Majority of the time it would have been Division 1, but we got up to senior, and obviously junior was in there, intermediate was in there and stuff like that there. And yeah, no, like, only for Peter that wouldn't have happened. And I would say he wasn't there for every single one of them championship ones, but he was there. He would have been the manager for, yeah, majority of them, which is unheard of as well. And we were so lucky to have him. And he's actually back with our club this year. So yeah, no, it was a good run, and we're a while now without silverware. So
Okay.
if you're lucky, we go again.
Very good. I was interested to hear, I played underage with the boys up to under 12 as well. And it was always that funny kind of, when you step onto the pitch, it's like, oh, I'm not marking the girl. And then you give them a big shoulder and they're like, oh, or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a great story, I think you were saying, about Aimee. They all said, oh, let Aimee take the penalties.
Yeah.
How did you find playing with the boys? And do you think it's great that there's girls' team being set up, but is it still important for girls to play with boys, do you think?
Yeah, like, I think as long as the physical side isn't too much, like, it does come to an age, until you get to a certain age, there's no difference in physicalities. And that is why girls are allowed to play up until that point, because then obviously it's just natural that boys tend to get bigger and girls don't get as big. So until the physical side changes, I think it's brilliant for girls to play with boys, not for any other reason than it obviously allows that tackle, it allows that strength, and ladies football doesn't allow that at the minute, and probably will never, but it does definitely allow you to get into the nitty gritty sort of, and it helps you, even though ladies is non-contact, it's sort of playing with the boys helps you get in for the dirty ball. Like, there is still that aspect in the ladies, and the boys, playing with the boys can only help you. And it is just the fact that, what I know from having brothers, they're just, in general, they're a wee bit harder. And I know what it was like playing with my brothers compared to playing with my sisters at any age. It was just, they really went at you sort of thing. So yeah, I think it can only help. And like, the skill level obviously brings you on another wee bit as well, just playing with the boys. So yeah, no, definitely, I think it's great. And as I say, play as much as you can when you're that age. So if there's a girls team, you play for the girls, but if there's a boys, play with the boys as well. Like, yeah, we try to promote it in our club, and anybody that sort of wants to, we tell them to go with the boys as well as the girls, until like the under 12 sort of age.
Brilliant. You were definitely throwing a few big shoulders then where you're underage. I'm getting that vibe.
Well, I don't know. I might have got hit a few shoulders, but I don't know how good I would have been at giving them.
For you, Brian, what age did you realise that you had the talent to make it to the intercounty stage? Was it around the teenage years? What kind of stage were you at then?
Yeah, I suppose, like, I've been Armagh setups from under 14 sort of thing. So basically I was sort of into Armagh whenever I was under 14, and it was development squad. So I've been lucky enough that I would have got picked for them, and I got taken in for them, and it only benefited because it was extra training, it was extra coaches, you're playing with girls from different clubs. So I don't know if I sort of realized, I definitely didn't realize I was good enough at that age. You were just sort of at that stage, you're too young to even think about that. You were just going to play football. And even when you got to minors and that, and even now, like, I don't think anybody, I don't know, I personally don't think I'm, not that I'm obviously playing it, but I still don't think, oh, I'm brilliant, like, just because I play for Armagh. It's just more of a sense of going and feeling lucky that I've been picked, and like grateful obviously for the opportunities, because it is such an honour. But yeah, I don't know when I personally realised, but I would have been in Armagh from, yeah, under 14s until now.
Okay, very good. You've mentioned practice and getting so much football in, as much as you can in, a lot there. How often did you practice outside of team sessions, and how often did you emulate the players you would have watched, whether it was on TV with your senior club team, with the guys? How much did you practice in the back garden, and who did you try emulate?
Well, probably nearly all the time. Like, we would have been out, not necessarily always been Gaelic, but we were always playing a sport. Like, you know, that was just the thing. Like, it was when Wimbledon was on, you're out in the garden playing tennis. When whatever was on, you're out copying it. You know, that sort of way. Um, we all the Olympics, you would have been out trying to do everything. You know, that sort of way. But yeah, no, we would have always had a ball in our hand nearly at all times. You're always out practicing in the garden, obviously, with my brothers and sisters. And then, yeah, training wise, like, you would have, daddy would have coached a team, and you would have been just following him around the coaching, like down at the pitch just to play. And it would have been minor boys, and you might have only been about 10 years of age, like, but you just wanted to be there to follow them around and just, you know, just copy them. So yeah, no, it would have been like a lot of the time, yeah, we would have been training. But the main ones probably that we try to copy in the garden were the Armagh O2 team, obviously, because they were like the best thing ever when we were younger. So like the goals they would have scored. I remember Dad and Aimee sort of copying them in the garden, and you know, you had the likes of Ashton McConville and Ronan Clark and stuff in that team that would have scored unreal goals, and Stephen McDonald. So you would have been trying to copy them sort of boys. And even now, as you get older, like, you still look at things that people do and you're like, goodness, I want to do that, or could I try to do that? Like, even David Clifford there with the bounce, like, you're always learning. So I think it doesn't stop as you get older. Like, you see that there, well, I know I do, and me and we were down practicing it, we were just having a kick about, like, just because it's constant, the progress is constant. Like, so yeah, from a young age you're sort of doing that, and yeah, it doesn't stop, like.
Brilliant. Yeah. What I love about yourself and Amy's game, and a lot of, there's a particular bunch of players I love watching in the ladies' game, is they have this flair. Do you think we're losing that a little bit in Gaelic football through the men's and women's game? Is it becoming too structured? Are we losing that kind of flair off the cuff? Like, I know last year you went on this blistering solo run through the whole defence. Like, are we losing that kind of flair for the game? Is it becoming very structured from your point of view? What do you think?
Yeah, I think like some people could like have that opinion, could understand how they have opinion, but I think the way the game is going, it is a lot about keeping possession, because if you have possession, the other team can't score, obviously. And I think it's not completely, like, I know when we're told it is about the percentages. So if you can do it and it's on, go for it. But if it's not completely on, and if it's not within your range, if it's not within your ability, you know, you need to sort of be smart. Like, not everybody can do what David Clifford can do, or not everybody can do what, you know, Caroline O'Hanlon can do in our team. So it's sort of, as much as it can be seen as being a bit more structured, it's sort of sticking to your strengths. Like, you know, I can't do what our full back can do, you know, so I'm not gonna, as much I can try practice, I'm probably not gonna do exactly what she could do, or she can't do what our full forward can do. She's not gonna come run up this pitch expecting to score a goal in top corner, you know? So it's not so much about losing the flair of it, it's sorta about the percentages and the decision making, like, and I think that's what's come into the game a lot more, is that people are really focusing on the stats, which is brilliant because it's only gonna progress the game. But I think yes, it can be seen as taking the flair out of it, but more so just doing what's right in that moment and your decision making for the stats. Because when you look at the stats, it's like, well, that's what's going to win us this game, not one wonder point by one player. Do you know, that sort of way? So yeah, that would be my opinion of it. But I think you're still given, well, I know within any team I've ever played on, you're still given the freedom to be like, go, especially in the forwards more so, because it is more, that's where more of the sort of fancy stuff sort of happens more so. But yeah, I think you're still given the freedom to do it, but at the same time, not at the expense of trying this wonder goal and losing it, and the other team going down the pitch and getting a goal. So it's just the competitiveness of the game at the minute. I think you can't afford to do something flurry if it doesn't work out, because then it just looks silly, and that's it. If it works out, you're the best in the team. If it doesn't work out, you just look stupid standing there.
That you know what, that's actually a really good way of looking at it, is that structured approach. Do you think that's the biggest evolution you've seen in the ladies game, is this, you could call it professionalism coming in, where the stats with the possession, people giving out, it's like a soccer match or a basketball match, but is that the biggest evolution you've seen from watching games when you were younger to now playing in senior intercounty football?
Yeah, and I think anybody who sort of watched even way before I was born, the games, like, it has changed so much. Like, before I was born, it was just a hit and hope. It was just a big pick. Then it moved into sort of more skill level. We got better and stuff like that there. And now obviously we see in like sort of the Donegal era, the men's era sort of brought in this sort of keep ball sort of style and teams, even Meath ladies, like, the defensive system and stuff like that there. Like, you've seen it throughout the codes. And I think, yeah, it can be seen as the biggest evolution maybe because people are seeing it as slowing it down. But it is sort of like teams, not necessarily weaker teams at all, but if that's how you need to win in All Ireland, if that's what you have to do to win yourself in All Ireland, you're gonna do it. Like, and I wouldn't blame anyone for doing it ever, because at the end of an All Ireland's an All Ireland. Nobody's used to get there. So yeah, no, I think people obviously have their different opinions on it, but I think if it's done, like, you don't want a game but going 1-0, like you don't want that sort of game. But I think initially the fear was people were saying they're just gonna sit back and not attack. But now you've seen it, fitness levels have increased so much, and people's physical abilities have increased so much as teams are sitting back, the pace that they're breaking forward at now is insane. Like, so it's not about sort of, right, we'll just try and not let them score. It's sort of get them on the counter attack as well. And that's what made ladies done last year. Like, it wasn't as if they did cramp out your forward line, but they also broke up pace and got up the field whenever they were up the field. So, it can be tough to play against, I'll not lie. And it's obviously that's what they're trying to do. And any team you play against in men's or women's, that's what they're trying to do. They're not going to make it easy for you. And sometimes it mightn't be a great watch for people, but if it's done with good intensity and fit enough people, it's always going to be a good sort of structure. And I don't think it's slowing it down, because people have got so fit that it's not as if they get the ball back and they just stand still around the midfield line anymore. They sort of do try to go for it as well.
I'm definitely speaking to a future pundit or manager, I think here.
I
Can
don't know.
you, who out of interest, you mentioned Meath or even individuals, players, you mentioned David Clifford as well. Do you enjoy just sitting down to watch a game, or are you constantly kind of analysing what are they doing? What's that kind of move there?
No, like, I do, like, you sit down and enjoy nearly every single game. But when there is moments of like David Clifford pure class or whatever, and there's many players do it throughout the men's and women's game, then you sort of are like, oh my goodness, like, you do notice the things as well. I think as a current player, I think any current player sort of does it. And any game you watch, you're sort of like, well, if it's a completely different system, or it's a completely, not out of the ordinary system, you do notice, just because you're sort of like, well, could that work for us? Do we need to do more of that? Like, is that what's affecting our game from progress and sort of thing? So you do be looking at it constantly when you're watching football, as like, what are they doing? Maybe not that we're not doing or necessarily, but more, what are they doing that could make us better, sort of thing? Or if it's a particular player, what are they doing that could make me better, sort of thing? So yeah, you do constantly be analysing it, but I think that's just as a current player. And I think the house that I'm in, I think we're all sort of analysing constantly. I've seen us sitting out with sweets, chocolate sweets as players, and lining out a full team and setting out
Brilliant.
systems and stuff like that there. So I think, yeah, I think it's just the house that I'm in and the family that I have, where that's the way we are.
That's a good point. Yeah. Out of interest, you mentioned it previously as well, the tackle. kind of become this big debate in ladies football. As a current player, I'd love to get your view on what you make of the tackle, what you'd like to see. Would you like to see a change? Would you like to see more definition brought in? What would you like to see with it?
Yeah, I think it is a hard one because obviously in the ladies' game it's stated as non-contact, but obviously that's never really going to happen fully. No matter how you tackle somebody with the ball, you're going to contact them somehow. Um, so I think the way we're doing it, if you can do it perfectly, the way the rules fit, the tackle is sort of an easy tackle to do, sort of thing. I personally, with the strengths and the physical capabilities that ladies are starting to sort of form now, and the strength and conditioning side of it coming in way more, I think there should be a wee bit more of an allowance, because it's going to be a wee bit more hard hitting. It's going to be that there whenever the players themselves are sort of growing and building. And yeah, I think in the same sense, some rules could be a wee bit clearer. I think that's the same across the men's and women's. And obviously, different people have different interpretations for rules. So it is just about trying to get them more precise to make it life easier for the refs, because it's sometimes they are hard ones to call, in terms of like the one that's most difficult in the ladies game, I think, is the charging rule. It's like, who has the advantage, who should have the advantage, what, like, I personally think if you're standing still and you just sort of fall back, it's for the person on the ball, it's very hard to move just that quickly. And, you're not intentionally ramming into somebody, but it happens because somebody just stops dead in their tracks right in front of you. And it looks really bad and you are going through them. But also for the person on the ball, it's very hard to adjust your feet when somebody just stops dead in front of you. So that's probably the main one. The charging one would be one that could not even be looked at, just be sort of more key on for like cleaned up on, sorry, for referees and for players, just so you know exactly what you can and what you can't do. But yeah, the main thing I would say would be maybe try bring a wee bit of physicality into it more, like allow a wee bit more, which a lot of refs do, because I think they understand that it can't be zero contact in the nature of the game. But it is just sort of maybe adding it in a wee bit more, just because the strength and the fitness of girls is just getting better and better and better. So you may as well use them things if you're training them, that sort of way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as you said, like I've mentioned this a couple of times in this podcast, was the tackle, and even nothing to do as a player, but as a referee, the job is a lot easier then because it's more defined. And I think, I don't know what you thought about the final last year at Meath in Dublin, but I thought it was the best ladies football game I've probably ever watched, because he let that physicality go, and I thought it made for a great game. It was really competitive and it was a great advertisement, because at the end of the day, we want more people playing and watching ladies football.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree with you. And the best games I've ever played in is whenever the ref does let a wee bit go. We had our semi-final against Laois, and it was a wee bit of sort of, I don't even know the word I'm looking
I
for.
know what you're saying though, yeah.
No, it was you were sort of getting to know each other basically. It was a wee bit more physical probably than any other game that I was playing in, and the referee, he done a great job of managing it, and it was the same referee in our league final as well, and it was the same. He managed it enough that it didn't get out of hand, but also it let the game flow. And I think that's the most important thing, is you don't want to let something go so much that it does go out, players starting to get injured, because obviously the referee is responsible for players' sort of safety in regards to that, but also, yeah, to get a free flowing game. And as you say, the final, like, it's such a better watch. It's a quicker game. It doesn't slow it down as much and stuff like that there. So yeah, I think definitely just sort of get the rules nearly, obviously there's always interpretation, but nearly perfect, so that the referees have an easier job and the players can sort of go out and play and use all the attributes that we're working on, sort of thing.
Out of interest, this has come up a lot. What would you think is kind of the underrated skill in the game at the moment? Is there anything we're overlooking, maybe for any coaches or younger players listening that are trying to practice and improve? Is there anything that we're kind of not maybe looking at enough at the moment?
The main skill that I always say when I'm coaching is both feet, both hands. Practice them from a young age, and anytime I go out and coach a session, I have them using both sides, because it's the hardest thing to mark. It's the best quality to have, for a player who can go off both sides. They're so unpredictable. They're You don't know what they're going to do next. You can't just say get them on that side because they'll just go and put it to the other side. So yeah, I think that would be the main thing, and it may not be necessarily overlooked, but I think yeah, that's the most important one, definitely.
Do you think it's gotten to the stage, or maybe not yet, but I think over the next couple of years, is that having both sides is going to be kind of like a non-negotiable to play senior intercounty football?
Yeah, yes and no. It could be if the younger generation keep doing it. I've seen girls at 12 years of age who have a better left foot than me, and it could be if as a whole, if coaches and players as a whole sort of buy into it, like, then you see maybe other ones that you ask them to do their weaker foot and they just sort of look at you and they keep going with their other foot, just because they don't want to even try it, like, so yes, it could, because coaches are trying their best to teach it. It's just a matter of if players sort of take it on board and stuff like that there, which can be difficult whenever your kids are younger and stuff like that there, and maybe they just don't want to try the hard stuff. But definitely, yeah, because some majority are doing it. I think if you don't do it, you're going to be sort of seeing yourself a wee bit behind. But then at the end of the day, if somebody has, a left foot like Colin Cooper, they're not going to be left off the panel because they can't kick with the right foot. But I do agree that a lot more people are doing it definitely than whenever I was younger. Like, I don't my coach maybe did tell me, and I probably was the one that didn't listen, but I don't remember very much doing it when I was younger. I think, yeah, it's definitely moving that way.
When you go down to the pitch, at the moment, I know probably hard in season, but what do you practice when you're going down? Is there any particular routine or drills or anything that you practice that you find helpful?
Um, like, it is hard when obviously you're in training to get down to the pitch as much, but in season, sort of most of the time I go down, I would work on my shooting, or out of season, maybe if I went down, I would sort of work on longer balls in, like as if there was a forward sort of inside, and where you're putting it, you have to sort of pretend that they're running for you and stuff like that there. But a lot, if I went down to the pitch on my own, it would be mostly on my kick pass and shooting, that sort of thing. And again, it would be off both sides as much as we can. As frustrating as it can be, my left foot putting everything wide, but it is about practice, practice, practice. So yeah, probably mostly kick passing and shooting. Maybe that's a personal thing that I need to improve on or want to improve on. So yeah, that would probably be the main thing. And I'm probably not so good at that and having a routine. I just sort of go down. If I'm on my own, it's just more a kickabout than anything too structured. Yeah.
Yeah. Out of interest, how do you keep fresh in the off season as well? But as an intercounty footballer, you've so many demands. You've got training, you've got club commitments, county, different things going on. How do you stay fresh mentally as well as physically? Because obviously there's huge demands with all of the training, all the running that you guys do. But to be, fresh mentally and still be sharp, how difficult is that, and how do you stay sharp?
I think a big thing for that is obviously you spend a lot of time training. You do, wear 3 nights a week and then 2 gym sessions. So that's 5 days a week where there's only 2 days there that you don't have something on. So in terms of keeping fresh mentally, I think is like getting away from it, like disconnecting yourself from it, sort of, which I think is a good thing. And I think you can't get over consumed by it. You can't think about it 24/7 because it's only going to overwhelm you. So I think getting away from it, and like, even I know the day before a match, I like to sort of do something all day and, plan out a day that you're going to be away, or you're going to be just doing stuff and seeing people, because sometimes maybe the people will ask about it, but it depends who you're with, and you maybe don't talk about it. Like, you maybe don't talk about it as much the day before, and that sort of helps me. Just, yeah, stop thinking about it as much as you can when you're not in it. Obviously, there's a certain level where you have to do your research, or like, you have to watch a certain match and you have to read up on stats, or you have to rewatch your match back. So obviously, I don't mean when you're not in your county training or whatever, you're not thinking about it. But a good way for me, yeah, is disconnect from it. do things that you enjoy, like maybe some people read, some people go for walks, stuff like that there. Do things that you enjoy and have things that you enjoy outside of playing. Try your best to get a hobby or another thing that you like outside of your sport, because if you don't, you have no sort of release from it. You have no time to get away and stop thinking about it, because it can become overwhelming whenever you're trying so hard and trying so hard. It can nearly go the other way. It can nearly have a negative effect in terms of it mightn't the harder you try, your performance, your mental strength, it mightn't even get better. So you need to sort of look at things that are gonna ease you from that and sort of refresh you, sort of thing. So for me, like, I love even outdoor swims. Like, I know there in the summer, if I'm really down and out of a game, like, just go in the lake. There we have a lake close to us, Cameron Lake. Get in the lake, have a quick swim. It might only be a dip in and out, but fresh open water, beach. I remember after our Dublin semi-final 2 years ago, we got beat the next day, and that was in the winter. That was December. Me and Aimee with our whole family went down to the. It was freezing. Our whole family were just going down to Carlingford for the day, sort of thing, anyways. But we took our stuff with us straight into the open water, and it just sort of de-stresses, gets the worries of football out of your mind, sort of thing. So yeah, if you have the best thing to do is to have something that you enjoy that sort of relieves you from any stresses, because intercounty football, it can be stressful in a way, in terms of you mightn't always be performing at your best, you mightn't always be at 100%, but you need a sort of a way to retract yourself and sort of go again and be able to go again, because if you get too down about it, you're never gonna progress, sort of thing.
Yeah. How do you find coming off the pitch and kind of having that no regrets kind of thing? And I've kind of put it in nearly air quotes, as in, I think it's someone said to me recently, it was Aoife McDermott, Irish senior rugby player, and she was like, "Oh, like, as a high performer, you never come off the pitch with no regrets." Do you find that there's always something else you could have done on the pitch, particularly even after a win? How do you find that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, you're always sort of um critical on yourself, I suppose. And if you're not really gonna progress. You have to be. And to get better, like, there's no perfect performance. Everybody makes a mistake at some stage in 60 minutes of football. So to get better, you have to look at the things you done bad as well as the things you done good. So as much as you always say before a game, play with no regrets, you're always going to maybe make a mistake that you're like, why did I do that or whatever. It's not necessarily a regret, it's a mistake. But the whole thing about no regrets to me more means giving it your all, giving it 100%, trying your best. It doesn't necessarily mean that the mistakes don't count and that sort of thing for me, because maybe it was out of your control. It was just you know, an error, like a human error. We all make them. So the no regrets for me, I would only have regrets if I came off a game, and I have before plenty of times, if I come off thinking I didn't give 100% or there was more in me or anything like that there. But yeah, in terms of mistakes, you're always going to be critical and you're always going to overanalyze them and think, why did I do that, or what was I even thinking? There was a better option on. But yeah, I think that's just sort of constructive, more so than anything, because you can't just look at your matches and pick out all the good and think you're amazing. It doesn't help anyone, and it definitely doesn't make you better.
Yeah. How do you measure a successful performance then? Is it that coming off the pitch being like, yeah, I gave 100% and I've left everything out because I'm exhausted, or is there any other elements you look for?
Yeah, no, definitely. Giving 100% is probably the main one for me, because you do get games and you've come off at the end feeling like they completely passed you by and that you weren't in it or whatever may the reason be. And again, after that, you go and analyze, what was that? Was it my nutrition? Was it my sleep? Did I not get myself geared up enough for this game or whatever it may be? So for me, the main thing is the giving it your all. Like, and not that it has only happened a few times, but I've tried to make it only happen a few times. If I notice it in a game that I'm not fully there, you try to switch it around. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But the main thing for performance measure would be working hard, giving it your all, and did you do what your manager asked you to do? In a team sport, that's probably one of the most important things. And if I came off the field and I had completely went against the game plan, then that's not successful. Even if I did work hard all day, if I didn't do what the manager had asked me to do, then yeah, no, I probably wouldn't be successful. And then obviously you have your measures when you go to watch it back, like how many successful hand passes, kick passes, scores, wides. You know what the output of it all was is obviously a measure of it as well. But I think firstly you have to look at the input, and that's your work rate and your preparation and stuff like that there. So that's the probably a few of the main things there.
Brilliant. Would you have a particular routine you do before every game, or do you like to change it up, or how do you approach a game?
Yeah, so obviously it depends on times, days, whatever. Like some Saturday games there, you might be working on the Friday, so you only really have your evening free. Like a Sunday game, probably try and go and do something on the Saturday, meet up with friends or meet up with somebody just sort of to get out of the house, as I say. Try not to think about it too much. Obviously, you do have to look after your nutrition. So that plays a part in what you do the day before. So you have your nutrition planned out for the whole day. What times you're eating at, what you're eating, you have everything sort of pre-planned. So that affects or disrupts your day a wee bit, just in terms of you have to be eating at a certain time. But yeah, you work around that. And yeah, I would try to get away and maybe get out for a walk, just so you're not slumped on the couch all day. I know you have to rest and stuff like that there, but lying on the couch, I think, just makes you lethargic. Maybe not for some people, but I remember one game, for whatever reason, I had to lay on the couch majority of the day, and I remember that night going to the match, and I couldn't run really anywhere. I think I was only like 16, but I remember it stuck out to me because I was like, I'm never doing that again. Like, I felt like I couldn't move. But yeah, I think you do sort of keep yourself a wee bit active during the day. And yeah, so just get out fresh air, meet up with some friends. If there's a match on down in the club, I would go down to it, and yeah, just sort of take your mind off things.
Yeah, I'd be the same as you. I can't. I know if I kind of lie around the day of the game, or even I find if you're training 2 days before, I kind of like a not a tough session, but a moderate session to kind of keep the legs moving. Some people like a light session. It's so individualized. It really
Yeah.
depends on every single person.
It really does. And as you say, like some people want to go and get a good wee sweat on sort of thing and get a good wee loosener out. Some people, like I would sort of feel a bit the same, like you like a few wee hard runs in there just to open the legs up, stretch them out, and it's not going to be too much that your legs are going to be sore, but just a wee bit of something, yeah. And that's it. It's completely individual, and that's probably the struggle with a team sport, because it can't be completely individual. It has to be what your coach says or whatever, and he's doing what he knows best in terms of his scientific research sort of thing. So, and that's probably the most difficult part, because yeah, some people want to take it easy, some people want a good wee quick and sharp session more so, I would think, the training session before a game. Um, but yeah, it just is so individual, and as before a match, everybody's completely different. Some people might like to sit in the house all day and completely think what they're going to do and stuff like that there. But yeah, it depends, and I think it does. That's the main thing, is working out what works for you to be able to perform your best. Like some people, like I do, want to sort of get away from it and just relax and do not talk about it too much. Others want to talk about it and think about what they're going to do and have to have everything down to a T, like, that sort of way. So it is just about testing the waters in different games that you're preparing for, prepare differently and see what works for you, sort of thing.
Exactly. Would you still get nervous before a game, or are you kind of now calm and cool, collected?
No, definitely still nervous. I don't know if that ever leaves. I think it's the pressure, it's everything else sort of, your expectations be a lot on yourself. So you never want to go out and do yourself or your team an injustice. So I think that makes the nerves. And nerves are a good thing, like it means you care. That would sort of be my opinion, and people maybe have just got ways of dealing with it better. I just think for me, the nerves are because I care and because I want to go out and do my best. And I think it's sort of the same for a lot of people, that's the main reason that they're there. But yeah, it's sort of about trying to control them so that it doesn't affect your performance. And I know in my time playing football, it definitely has affected my performance more so when I was younger. And it is just same as sort of the other things we're speaking about is trial and error. What works for you? What takes the nerves away? And what settles the nerves? Maybe doesn't take away, but what settles them so that it doesn't affect when you go out onto the pitch. And I think a big thing is sort of, for me anyways, is once you get the first touch on the ball, that's you. Not not that the nerves are necessarily gone, but it's game on sort of thing. So yeah, it's just about getting your hands on the ball early and going from there.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that came up in a very early episode with David Toner. He was saying that I think someone gave him advice. It was get the hand pass, get a ball first and hand pass it off, and just get your first touch in, and your nerve will settle down. I know the result didn't go your way, but what was it like playing in Croke Park for the first time?
Yeah, it was class. Like it's sort of the dream, isn't it? But yeah, as you said, the result didn't go the way, so it dampened the day a bit. But at the same time, you can't sort of underestimate the significance of going and playing there because it is such a big deal. And yeah, as much as the whole day wasn't a great day, it was a good thing to get to play in Croke Park because, as I said, and I think I said it to whenever my brothers were getting their first days out, like that's what you want to do. That's where you want to be. Like, and we're lucky to get the opportunity and have got that far. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a different ball game in Croke Park. But it was amazing to be honest, and we're lucky we got a good wee bit of support out from Armagh and across the county. But it's just unfortunate the performance as a whole didn't follow on the day. But it's something to work on, and it's good that we've got there and it's done. Sort of the first ones out of the way, sort of thing. In Croke Park, anyways, and it only gives us more motivation to get back there, whether it be in another league final next year. But hopefully you'll be looking for an All Ireland final this year in the ideal world.
Yeah, exactly. Out of interest, I've asked a couple of people this question. Are you more motivated by a setback, say for example losing a game, or by success? What is it for you?
Um, that's a difficult one. I think probably by a loss. It's sort of different because I would say maybe by a loss because it's sort of get out to prove your point, like get out to show that's not the team that you are. Um, and I think you learn a lot from a loss. So probably yeah from a loss, but in the same sense in a success as well because it's a motivating factor. Like when you're winning, you're on a high, and like when everyone's on a high and everyone's happy, your football's better. So it's completely contrasting reasons, but I'm gonna say a loss at the minute because we've just experienced one not so long ago.
Yeah, good point. Out of interest, I thought 2020 was the year that both of you exploded onto the scene. Obviously, that Cork win previously was a big factor, I think, for Armagh as well. Do you think how much did that season and coming so close to Dublin? I know that today it didn't go your way again, but getting to that level, getting to that game, and kind of moving on from that, how much do you think is that kind of helped your squad kind of look forward to maybe getting to an Ireland final and kind of seeing kind of what it takes as well?
Yeah, no, definitely it was massive for us that year. 2020 was brilliant, and as you say, getting to play against Dublin, who at the time were the best in Ireland. So yeah, it was a huge thing and is a huge thing for our team, especially this team, because from that team there's so many players that are still there. Trying to think, I would say everybody basically
Wow. Okay.
is still there. So like when you think that was 2 years ago, like there's maybe 19-year-olds playing then, like who are 21 now and stuff like that there. So like 2 years makes a big difference. And when you get experiences like that at such a young age, like maybe there was one or two 19-year-olds at the time, a couple of 20-year-olds, 21, to get them experiences against the top teams at such a young age is massive, like because you're learning from such a young age and it's a big deal. Probably for our team was like maybe a realization of the standard and the levels sort of thing because we're obviously playing in Division Two. So we're not playing against the likes of Dublin, the likes of Meath, the likes of Cork week in, week out. which is maybe why we haven't reached that level yet. And that's obviously we really are focusing on winning the league and getting up to Division 1. But yeah, it's a big deal for us in the championship to get teams like that and draw teams like that, because we're not getting them tests in Division 2, even though it's a very difficult division. You don't get to play the very top teams. So yeah, no, when you get into your All Ireland, you want to be playing the teams like that. And as much as it didn't come out the right side of it, it sort of set the standard and showed you how far away, but actually how close you are to. So it is definitely a big learning curve, and the same as last year with me, like we take a lot out of it, and every year you're learning. And we were beat by the 2 All Ireland champions the past 2 years in a row, and not by cricket scores. So it shows that we're not far away, but it also tells you the work that needs to be done. And when you sort of look back at the stats and watch back the games, if a couple of different things had gone a different way, or stuff, not in terms of referees, in terms of our decision making and stuff like that there, it could have been a completely turnaround, and it could have been a completely different season, that sort of way. But yeah, no, the experiences you get playing against the top teams is second to none, and it only sort of motivates the whole team.
Out of interest, for someone like myself, or that hasn't played against Division 1 or Division 2 teams, do you think is the difference between the Division 2 and Division 1 teams? Is there anything that you can kind of put your finger on that just makes them that bit more elite?
Probably the pace and the intensity, I would say. Like, I remember playing against Dublin that year, and particularly Dublin, was that you didn't get as much time on the ball. You weren't on the ball a split second, and everyone was around you like a rash sort of thing. And probably in the role that I had been playing, there was sort of certain times throughout the season that you did maybe get a bit of space around the middle, or somebody wasn't tackling you for a bit of time or whatever. And then you got to that game, and that was probably the difference. Definitely, like, you just didn't get a single second to make up your mind. You had to be thinking before you got the ball what you were going to do, because you were just going to be tackled straight away, and tackled hard. So yeah, probably the intensity. And then once you're in that, like, you have to match it, and you have to sort of do what they're doing, and sort of give it back to them in a sense. Like, you have to press them high, you have to be intense with them. So that's probably the main thing. And then the skill level as well is the other thing. There's no room for error in terms of breaking out for defence, or miss kick in the forward line sort of thing for a shot. There's no room for them errors when you're playing against Division 1, because they go down the field, they put it over the bar straight away, and that's basically 2 points lost because you've missed a point and they've scored a point. So it's a 2 point turnaround. Like, that is probably the main differences, is the intensity and the skill level. You don't get away with as much in terms of how hard they tackle you, and then you don't get away with any silly errors either.
Good point. Out of interest then, what do you think is your best position? You obviously won an All-Star in 2020, and I think your position has always kind of moved around a little bit, but what do you see as your strongest or even most favourite position?
Um, at the minute, I'm enjoying midfield, and I've always played midfield for my club, so it's probably my favourite position. But like, when I was minors, I was half back, and I was in half back for seniors for a while. And I think it definitely depends on the team. I'm just not quite good at one position, so they just had to move me where there was a space. No, like, I think it depends on the team. Like, and it depends what the manager wants you to do, or the role he wants you to do. Like, whenever I was half back for minors, it was an attacking half back. Tommy Coleman wanted me playing, so that was the role he wanted me to do. That's where he thought I could be strongest. That's where he wanted me as the team. But yeah, I'm enjoying midfield at the minute, and I think I prefer midfield just because I've probably played it more consistently for my club, than anything else. But in the county, I'm happy to get a jersey and do what needs to be done. If that means being in the half back, I'll be a half back. And it definitely makes it a wee bit difficult in terms of you're trying to adjust to a position, and then you might get changed. But I think that like, adaptability is good, because in any given game, maybe a yellow card, you have to go back. So I'm glad that I was put in those positions. And what, one time I was playing full forward for Armagh.
Oh, wow.
I don't have the shooting boots for that, so so that was short lived. But I have sort of played in a variety of positions. I think the only place I haven't been for Armagh is nets. I've,
Maybe next year.
maybe next year. I don't know. I'll be running away from the ball. But yeah, the it is definitely the adaptability and the that side of it that I've got from playing the different positions has helped me because, you know, no matter what position you are, football's a football. You have to do the same thing with it in the full back line as you do in the forward line. So, yeah, no, I'm glad they sort of done that with me coming up because as a 16-year-old, I wouldn't have been able to play midfield for Armagh in Division One. Would have been too young, probably too weak. And it sort of gave me being able to sort of fill into other positions that I maybe didn't need as much strength in. Um, I was able to sort of break myself into that sort of role, and it's only really this year that I have settled into it. That's not to say the next game out I might be moved somewhere else.
Yeah, we keep an eye out for that. Out of interest, Armagh made history, first ladies side to have their own ground. How big is that for you as players to not only have that facility but to see this happening for the ladies side of things? Because there's been so many issues. We won't get into it. That's a podcast in itself with the problems with ladies football and GA and everything. But how big is it for you to see the support for the game and to have your own ground that you know you're going to be training there and you have a set place?
Yeah, definitely, it's massive, and like, thank God for Sinead Reel, our chairwoman, because only for her, she wouldn't have we wouldn't have had what we have, and it is such a big deal because, as you say, it's the first one in the country and stuff like that there. But for us personally, like we maybe had a training night there and we trained the same nights, but there would have been during the day on a Tuesday, we don't know where we're training tonight. We'll keep you posted, and you maybe got a message at 6 o'clock to say we've got this pitch. And especially in the winter time, it's worse. Clubs can be reluctant to give their pitch up because obviously they're trying to keep it good, and the winter months are pretty grim. But at the same time, you're like, we need somewhere to train. So can anybody help us out? And we're very lucky that Silver Bridge, a club, helped us out as well for that. But yeah, no, that having the base now is brilliant because you don't have them issues. Nobody is worried about not having a pitch or not being able to train because of no pitch. So, yeah, no, it has helped us massively. And even just as a hub for our underage, the underage can come to training. They can be training before us some nights there. And, for them, like I know as a younger, maybe seeing the senior team training, it was a big deal for them sort of seeing the county team. Senior county team is where they want to be. It's visualized for them. It's not just a photo on Facebook. They see us. Maybe it might only be once a month that we're in the same place at the same time, but it's good for the underage, and definitely would hope that it sort of pushes them on to be like, that's where I want to be, sort of thing.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's all about seeing. It's like that saying, "Can see, can't be." It's
Yeah.
totally like for them to see you guys is amazing. If there's anyone listening that's kind of at that teenage age group, might be in younger teams under 14, 16 minor, is there a particular checklist without being too formal about what it takes to play intercounty football at the adult level?
Um, Probably just like your work rate, and obviously your skills sort of progress as you get older, but more down to your work rate and your attitude, I think, is the big thing for adult county level. Um, the other things like skill and sort of decision making and stuff, they'll be trained as you get older. But the one thing that you have to sort of have from within is to work hard and a good attitude. There's going to be times coaches ask you to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, whether it be running or whether it be a system. But in my opinion, nearly any system can work if the whole team buys into it. If you have one person goes astray and does their own thing, it's impossible to work. Whereas any system that a manager at senior county level gives you should work and will work if everybody buys into it. So that's a sort of attitude thing, just about like not thinking you're bigger than the team, knowing that everything you do is for the team, sort of thing. And then yeah, work rate. If you have that internally, then they are two massive things that are very important for to be a senior intercounty player.
Brilliant. Overall, throughout your career, who's been your toughest opponent so far?
Um, Dublin probably, ladies, yeah.
Is there any specific player that you've kind of battled with throughout the years, or?
Um, Because of my positional changes, no. I kind of been moved. No, there's always a few players that you love to play against who are very tough. I remember Lindsay Davy in particular, like she was brilliant. Um, Definitely a good standard to get yourself to sort of thing. I remember her particularly, yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty much a standout even now. Out of interest, throughout your whole career, I've asked a couple of people this question. What's been the biggest lesson you've learned from sport?
To never give up, probably. Even when everything's down and out, or nearly meant to be down and out, like there's always a chance if you give it your all.
Brilliant. Obviously, you still have a long career ahead of you. For the team, for yourself, what are the goals for this coming year and over the next couple of years with Armagh?
Yeah, no, take it match by match at the minute. Now that you're in full on in championship season, it's match for match. So the next one for us is the Ulster final, and who we play is yet to be known. But yeah, no, just focusing on performance and then hoping the result will follow. So that's the main thing for the rest of this season, taking it each game as it comes and focusing on that. But as an overall, like obviously we're pushing. A big one is the league. We want to push on further next year and hopefully win it. And then in the championship, again, I think it's sort of about progression. So we got to the semi-final the year before. We sort of dipped last year. It was quarter-final knockout. Next year, you want to try and keep getting better than you did the previous year, in terms of performance levels, in terms of results, in terms of everything. So probably pushing on from that, you'll be looking at a semi-final, final spot. And, obviously the main goal is to win an All-Ireland in the coming years, hopefully.
Brilliant. I'm going to move on to the sideline 7. You've been so generous with your time. It's the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
Get up, you can be sore in the morning.
Oh, brilliant. Who said that one?
John Rafferty from St Paul's School.
Okay, very good. Question 2, what's the best sporting event you've been to? And you can pick one as a fan and one as a player.
Probably the All-Ireland final. The men's is probably and the ladies as well. The 2 days are amazing, like, for me.
Brilliant. Question 3, what's been the biggest setback or challenge so far in your career and how did you react to it?
Probably the first time I didn't start in a championship match for Armagh, because of an injury a wee bit, but I was back fit and just due to not training enough probably before I didn't start. But reacting to it, yeah, it was just sort of whenever I did get the chance to come on the field to sort of prove that you want your position back.
Brilliant. Kind of on the flip side then, what's been your biggest achievement on or off the pitch so far?
On the pitch would probably be the Ulster title with Armagh. Was a big one, last year's one, and then the Ulster and All-Ireland run that we got on with our club. It was massive for us in 2016 at intermediate level. And then probably off the field, just the school side of things, a degree and a master's was a big achievement for me.
Fantastic. Looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
To just not stress out. It'll all work out and you do you. That's it.
Who would be your dream dinner guest and why? You can open up the table to a few people if you want.
Probably get Adele. I love Adele, and she seems like good crack, so she could be singing and providing a bit of the entertainment. In terms of footballer, Messi, probably Messi. I enjoy watching him, and then Gaelic footballer, probably one of the Armagh too players.
Yeah, are you cooking? Are you getting a takeaway? What are you thinking?
Takeaway, definitely.
What's your go-to? And in the off season now, if anyone listening.
Pizza, always pizza.
Brilliant. Final question before I let you go. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
Figuring it out.
Figuring it out. Brilliant. Blaithin, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I want to wish you the best of luck with everything with the upcoming season and beyond. And thanks again.
No bother. Thanks for having me.
A massive thank you to Blaithin for joining me on the podcast today. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat and I hope you got something from it. I'll be sure to leave our social media links in the description box below, and I just want to wish you the very best of luck with the rest of the championship. If you are enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it does help the show grow. A big thank you to Phil Queens for sponsoring the episode and to you for listening.